you know, and it was like as if she had a lion. She had a lion that was going to protect her with its life, right? And I just saw what that did in her heart when she knew that she was going to be protected. She knew that she was loved, and you know, she didn't want to stick her lion on you, but if you was tripping, you know. And I remember thinking to myself, that's how I wanted my kids' face to be when I showed up. That kind of confidence and that kind of certainty, and I was in love with Richard Williams from that point.
You should also say that you are not only the star of this movie, but also a producer of it, and I think you have played a number of real people who were alive at the time you played them, from Muhammad Ali, Dr. Garner Malu, Chris Garner. But I feel like from what I've read and heard, there were just maybe more personal connections to Richard Williams that you felt than, I mean, you've spoken about, he makes you think of your father, he makes you think of your daughter.
Yeah.
Maybe you could just talk about why, on the surface, there may not be many similarities, but deep down there actually are.
Yeah, you know, I think more than anything, I was more mature going into this role, and I had sort of probed myself deeper, and you know, I wrote my memoir over the past couple of years, so I was deeper into myself and into my comprehension of my father and my relationship with my father and my relationship with my children. So as an actor, I understood myself and my life better, which made it easier to comprehend Richard Williams and the Williams family. But he was very, very similar to my father. You know, I know, exactly. Very similar to your father too. You know, it's okay, man. No, but you know, my father was military, so you know, that post-World War II, you know, black man, that mindset that you know, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, and you know, Richard Williams, similar to my father, felt disrespected and abused and disregarded by the world, but never let it break him. So I understood what that look was in my father's eyes, and I recognized that in Richard Williams' eyes. And then in terms of being a father myself to a you know, a young black girl in this world, I had a sense of that also. So yeah, I felt more prepared than ever in my life to honor and explore this man and this family.
And just one more question for you, Will, before we go down.
No, that's all I have time for.
I want to just establish how long, I mean, everybody's been, partly because of the pandemic, but this has been a years-long process for,
Yes.
I mean, can you talk about, there's a script by Zach Baylin that was at the top of something called The Blacklist, which are the best scripts that had not yet been made into a movie. This became, that script became this movie. Ronaldo Marcus Green, who's not here, the director who you were involved with, Brain. Just talk about those guys, and then we're going to talk about how each of the rest of these great folks came to be part of this.
Yeah, you know, Zach Baylin, you know, was one of those, you know, things where, you know, it's very rarely when you read a screenplay and don't have a note, you know, and that first pass of the screenplay, you know, Zach just hit it out of the park. And it's always when there's stories that you think you know, and then you read something and Zach found all of the different angles, and you know, Miss Oracene was really quiet, you know. So Richard was always talking and always in the press, and Miss Oracene was laying back. And it was a huge revelation for all of us to realize that, you know, Miss Oracene was an athlete that was a part of training, Venus and Serena. And, you know, she would never say it out loud. We put it in the film. She said it in the interviews, but she had never said that, you know, she fixed
Fix the
serve. She fixed Serena's serve after Richard messed it up, you know. And even the idea of the open stance. We didn't get the full story into the film, but Miss Orsine was saying part of the open stance for the girls is she was pregnant with Venus when they were trying to learn tennis. They learned tennis together in order to teach the children. And because she was pregnant, she couldn't close her stance, and she started ripping open stance shut just for that. And she says that's where they got the idea. She was able to hit shots so powerfully from the open stance, and then that's how the family started training open stance. Yeah.
So, Sanaya and Julie, I want to ask you guys, my understanding is you had heard about these parts and were on tape for them before even Ronaldo Marcus Green was the director. So how did you first hear about this, and what was it that made you say, I see myself as Venus and Serena Williams?
We auditioned for it when it was still Veronica and Sophia.
Hollywood top secret.
But I think we both got auditioned around the same time, and it was mostly just trying to see the confidence in both of us, the eye of the tiger that they wanted. And so it was a lot of just trying to figure that out. And I kind of knew exactly what it was going to be, but it was kind of just like studying Venus and seeing how she was from the age we were starting to her becoming into a young woman. So that was like that research that I was doing in the very beginning.
Yeah, I think they could have done a little better with the name choices. It was a little obvious it was Sophia and Veronica spelling the champions. Wasn't that off? Yeah, but that's nice that we started auditioning. I found out about this in maybe late 2018, and I started auditioning for this in early March of 2019. But for a while, I think I really wanted to be a part of this because of who Serena and Venus are.
And was it specifically, were you guys tennis players? Were you into tennis? No? Neither? Because we're going to come to that, how amazingly, I know you trained a lot and made it look, that's the problem with a lot of tennis movies, is it looks fake.
Right.
This does not, this is the real deal. So anyway, we'll come back to that topic, but.
And I just want to say this, is I love saying this, both of them were, you know, so devoted and dedicated. So they were taking tennis, going to school, and shooting the film, right, all at the same time. Yeah, and Sanaya, you know, I always embarrass her when I say this. Sanaya not only had to learn how to play tennis like one of the greatest tennis players of all time. Sanaya is left-handed. She had to learn how to do it with her off hand.
So John and Tony, these coaches who were so instrumental in the development of these two young women, they're real people. These are not composites. These are guys who are out there. When you first heard about this project, how familiar were you with those folks, and what was the primary draw for each of you to be part of this? I think John, you've had a background in sports, but not tennis, right?
Yeah, definitely not tennis. Definitely, and meeting Ray, I think we ultimately sort of first connected, being athletes. We both played baseball in college, and we both sort of grew up as athletes. I think like Will said, you read a script. I'm sure a lot of you guys know. You read a script sometimes, and it's so wonderful and pure, and you just say, I would fight. I'll fight for this. I'll do whatever it takes to be a part of this thing. And then I think, if you're lucky enough and blessed enough that it actually works out, you start meeting folks, and then the thing starts getting real. And then it goes one of two ways, and this one was just a continual sort of just set of blessings and moments of inspiration. Every single person I met, every single person that I got to work with, and the cast and the crew, just was so unbelievably wonderful, and both in process and in humanity. This was this was the most beautiful project I've ever been blessed enough to just be a part of, and I think for me ultimately I didn't know much about Rick Macy, but what I read was that he just fell in love with this family, fell in love with these two young women, and meeting them and meeting their families, and everybody, they just. This was very much a family affair, and folks' families were there and a part of it, and it was just beautiful. I'm just real grateful.
And before they got to Rick, they went through Paul, and Paul could have Paul had to make some decisions about working with Richard. It was an unusual dynamic, but he signed up, and I guess just. For you to sign to play this guy, what was the most exciting part of that for you? The appealing.
Well, similar to what John said, when I read the script, it's just one of those that has magic to it. There's, obviously when I heard about it, I knew it'd be a great project. That Will was, at the center of it. But when I read that script, I was so moved. Paul's a wonderful character, but the whole thing, I just felt like I had to be a part of it. And then I reached out to the real Paul Cohen, who was incredibly generous, and we talked a lot. And the thing that came through in every conversation was his deep affection and respect for the family and for Richard. Because they've got a contentious relationship, but the fun of it is it's fun because he had so much admiration and respect for Richard. So they knocked heads in a way that was mutually respectful and also all about Venus. Talking to him, it was just really helpful to hear that from his mouth. And that was how many years ago, and he's still he writes me all the time. And talking about the family and Richard and how much he loves them and so I just feel like John, I'm really blessed to be a part of it. It's very rare to feel that magic dust on a project, and you knew it from the beginning with this one.
And it was and it was very important to John, Tony, and myself that we use our real legs with those shorts. No special effects, no makeup. We wanted, just the authentic tightness, and then the legs were all us. All personal.
So in setting up my next question for Will, I want to just
Sorry, that's distracting.
No,
That's you're trying to be professional.
I want to just set up this next question with a compliment for you, Will, which is that weirdly, and I'm bored a few of my friends who are here with this, but about 20 some odd years ago, I was a ball boy at the tournament that's the week before the US Open.
Wow.
And I would ball boy for years for Venus when she was starting out, and Serena would be in the audience.
That's cool.
And I have to tell you, the best part was that Richard Williams would come hang out with the ball kids and the ball kids and we loved him because nobody else had time for us, but he was, and I think that from a physicality standpoint, from the whole attitude, I can tell you firsthand, it is eerie watching you play this guy. Have you ever crossed paths with Mr. Williams?
We have never sat in the same room together.
That is the craziest
Never
part
sat in
to
the
me.
same room together. We started, and it was right before COVID. And then as soon as, COVID hit, he was unavailable in person. So I have 100 hours of video and tape and you know conversations,
Yes.
but I have his entire family was available. So his daughter Isha Price was on set every day. So the family put Isha in as the family rep, and she was literally there every second of every day. And Venus and Serena would pop in and out, and his other daughter Lindrea was wardrobe. So anytime something came up, we had Isha and Lindrea right there on set, and you know, we had interviews with Oracene, and so everyone was available. So it was you know, very helpful. And what was really cool, Venus and Serena said they would act as executive producers during the shooting, but they wouldn't put their name on it until after they saw the movie.
And their name is on it.
I know, yeah, I was like, oh no. And I got the call that they were going into the theater when the film was done, they were gonna see it, and then they came out and they were crying, and they just loved it, and they agreed to put their names on it.
Well, and I mean, Richard Williams, he's a unique character in a lot of ways, but physically, can you just talk about every day you played this guy, you were, I mean, there's posture, there's the speech,
Yeah.
there's the walk. I mean, what do you have any secrets you can share about how you, you know, so inhabited him as on this movie?
Well, I'm pretty good with dialects, right? So when I can hear it, so I have a little bit of a musical ear for dialect. So you know, I'll usually, you know, probably I'd say 6 weeks it takes me to get a dialect, and you know, 2 hours a day. 1 hour with an instructor, 1 hour just listen. I'll drive around in the car and just listen and mimic behind. But usually 6 weeks to being able to just ad-lib freely and just have a conversation in the dialect. And I'm generally with a character like this, I'm looking for one physical thing to latch onto to make me understand how their body works. And the thing, my barber, Pierce Austin, he's around somewhere. Pierce, you never know where it's going to come from, and he said he called it shopping cart, right? And shopping cart is how Richard Williams walks, right? So, and I was like, oh. So once I had shopping cart, then I had the idea of that walk, and that concept throws your head forward. It changes your voice. It changes the amount of air that you can take in and all of that. So that was the thing that really clicked it. And you know, once I had the dialect and the shopping and the concept of shopping cart, I really. I started to be able to dial it in around those two major concepts. The shopping cart really speaks to the amount of abuse his body had taken. His body, you know, he had been beaten so much, and his body had been battered so much that it left him in that kind of position. His feet are always hurting, you know. So, you know, it was. The hard thing, the most difficult aspect was, I was surprised at just how much Venus and Serena loved him, like they loved their daddy. And the thing that was most interesting to me is how can, you know, if you're driving somebody to succeed like that, it's really difficult to sustain a loving kindness. Right, you know, it creates a different thing when you're pushing, and Venus gave me the key with that. She said, no, he never pushed us like that. And she said, it's almost like the Jedi mind trick.
He tricked us into begging him to play tennis. Their punishment would be they weren't allowed to play tennis, right? So, and Venus, and I remember she was like, I don't even know how he did that. But we'd be begging him, Daddy, please, can we go practice? Please, can we practice? Yeah, so it was, you know, he's a very unique and special man.
Totally. So you ladies, to me, and I want to talk about, you know, we've gotten a little bit into the tennis, and I'd love to hear more about that, but also just the bond. There's a very close bond, there always has been, between Venus and Serena. You know, the holding hands and giggling and inside jokes, that's very real. And I wonder if you can talk about how you went about kind of learning about their dynamic, and when along the line you actually did get to meet these two ladies who are now, you know, I guess, what are we, 20 some odd years removed from the period that you're portraying? What if they had anything any good tips that were helpful? So Sanaa, if you want to start.
Sure. I mean, like Mr. Will said, we had Isha and Andrea there every day. So that helped a lot. But when they came to visit, we kind of just got to see their personalities more. And at first we kind of were like, oh my gosh, it's sixth grade. But then they were just chill, man. They were just people. And we kind of connected with them. It kind of helped us too, because getting to see them together, it was kind of like seeing them as kids again. They're so silly, and that helped us a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, like Sanaa said, when they came, it was definitely great to see them interact firsthand. You know, we hear all over the media how close Venus and Serena are, but it was really helpful for us as actresses to see that. But also to build that bond, we just hung out. You know, as soon as we found out that we booked the roles, our director, Mr. Ray, got us in touch, and we started texting, and then I flew out to LA. I was living in New York at the time, and then I flew out to Los Angeles, and the first day that I got here, Sanaa came over, and so we've been friends since then, you know.
And you both actually trained with somebody who had coached Venus and Serena when they were young, right? At Rick's
Yes,
Academy.
they were at Rick Macy's Academy together, Eric Tano, and so they grew up together.
They played together
Mhm,
at
they
the
played together.
Academy.
Wow. Let's talk about the fact that I believe 5 days after Venus and Serena visited the set, a little thing came along called the pandemic, which has affected everyone's life, and you guys shut down for like, I don't know, something like 6 months. You were not until October were you back. How, I guess, John, where were you in terms of your scenes at that point, and how did that affect the production from your point standpoint?
Look, you know, it's crazy because I can just keep, you know, the last answer I just sort of was gushing about how much I love it. I can kind of just keep doing that because it's sort of the same answer. You know, if there's ever a movie to sort of go through that, like maybe this is inappropriate. I feel like we handled the pandemic as beautifully, and like it was, you know, the cutoff point was sort of right at the point where there's that big time jump in the movie anyway. So I had just come on, you know, done, you know, the scene where where Rick comes to Compton, meets this incredible family, and then you know, it was, the break was right after that. So I hadn't really done much, and you know, for me personally, you know, I met them, you know, at tennis training. I fell in love. I got to work, you know, with Will on set, and there's no words for what that was like to see him do this. I was like, okay, you know, and you know, through that entire time that we had off, you know, number one, I kept the mustache. My wife hated it. There was not much making out. My kids kept pulling on it every chance they could. They called me Mr. Mustache Man. And these guys made fun of me all the time, and everybody at home made fun of me. But I got to continue training in the tennis and continue living in the accent, continue living with it. And, you know, Will continuously had us over. We continually were breaking down the script, working on it, diving in, showing us parts of the movie, things, you know, and it was just always this sort of attitude of positivity and encouragement, and we were just chomping at the bit to kind of get back, and we knew we were on to something so special. So you know, it's really the same sort of answer.
Oh, that's great. It's helpful. I'm gonna turn this over to you guys in a moment, but I do want to talk. Normally, it's not polite to talk about people who aren't here, but we are going to do it about both Ronaldo Marcus Green and Ingenue Ellis, who are both. So, Tony, can you just talk about? I mean, you have been a part of so many special movies and TV projects over the years. You worked with a lot of great directors. Ronaldo Marcus Green has done other projects that are very good, but nothing that's of this profile that people are going to see in the numbers. They're going to see this. What enabled him? What makes him obviously so good?
So I said the screen, right?
Please.
Yeah, Ray is just amazing. I saw his first film, Monsters and Men, which blew me away. But it's quite a low budget, small, gritty film set in New York, and you can see his mastery and how gifted he was. So I was super excited to work with him, and had as John mentioned when we first talked, I was like, this dude is so smart and so down to earth, and but it's you can't describe the pressure on a filmmaker taking on a project like this that is about two of the most iconic people on the planet, is with one of the 2 or 3 biggest movie stars on the planet, who is also one of the great actors in our pantheon of actors, and on a major studio budget and all of these things. It's I can't even describe. The pressure's extraordinary, as gracious and easygoing and positive and warm and embracing his will is. It's just a lot. And from the first time I got on the set, Ray was just chill. He's like so confident, so just like, yep, this is where I belong. I got this. And it created an environment. Obviously Will gets a lot of the credit for just creating a creative environment, a work environment where everyone feels relaxed and seen and valued, from all of us to the production assistants who were brand new to the business and doing the grunt work every day. So that I'm sure was tremendous for Ray, but I was really blown away. As you said, I've been doing this for a while, and I've worked with a lot of directors, some of the greats, and then a lot of first-time directors as well. And his level of just innate confidence and ease really blew me away. And the result, when I saw the movie, I knew it'd be good. But when I sat in that screening room with my daughter, by the way, who wept from the opening to the end, I was just really, he's really special.
Thank you. And Will, of course, if you want to add anything about Ronaldo, but also, I mean, nobody shared more scenes here with Ingenue Ellis than you did, and unfortunately she can't be with us here today, but she is rightly getting applause in the middle of the movie and all kinds of things. So just, a very talented actress who I think is really kind of getting the appreciation now that she has long deserved. Anything you want to add about her?
It is that subtle power, right? And it is, you can feel it, but it's almost invisible to your eye. So, she understands Miss Orsine so beautifully, and it's the work that she was able to do is, I'm so glad that people are seeing it and applauding it, because it's the type of thing that it just usually just goes under the radar, and it's like just how she was able to hold those scenes and the difficult twists and turns, right? It's one thing for King Richard to play this character that's the goal, and everybody is watching, and he's farting in scenes and all of that. It's like, it's like you can't help but love that. But that subtle power that Ingenue was able to bring to this role and hold it in a way, holding this family together the way Miss Orsine did,
And Ingenue was able to understand it and capture it and depict it in a way that it's penetrating people. And it's such delicate, tricky, heavy lifting that she was able to do. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that the world gives her her flowers.
So we're gonna come to you guys now, and I'm gonna preface it with the usual, please, go right to the question, no pitches, no whatever, let's just get right down to business. And we're gonna
Yeah, Will, great work, brother Will. But so I got this thing I'm ready. You've done tennis, so I got something with the cross, and I'm thinking.
right here, please, with the hand up, yes.
Hi, Will, Overbrook High School, but the scene is, Overbrook High School. The scene with almost your life was going to change because you had a gun, you want to kill that dude.
Yes.
Was that a real, true moment in the world of King Richard?
Yes, Richard said that was a moment when he realized it was ordained, because he felt God stuck his foot out and tripped him, before he was about to ruin everything. And he said from that moment, he recognized the hand of the divine. They are a very faithful family, right? So part of why they were able to do what they were able to do is God and family are first and foremost. Tennis is fifth on the list of their priorities, and I asked Miss Orsine about that, and did the way I was asking her, did the way things were happening, did you ever have doubt, were you scared? And she said really calmly, she said fear and doubt are the opposite of God and faith. Amen. She was like, we had no fear, we had no doubt. I was like, wow, and it's like, but that is the subtle, silent certainty that, Miss Orsine was able to set in this family, and that's what the kids were raised with, that, faith, your family, love, contributing to the human family, and then tennis. And they were using tennis to build contributing human beings. They weren't using tennis necessarily to make money. They wanted to make money, but even that was way down on the list of what they were concentrating on. Their mental health and their faith and their love as a family and their contribution was before making money in tennis, and it was a beautiful revelation.
Thank you.